Hi, it's Friday afternoon, and you're with Farmer John, and you're in the hot south. I think it's hot everywhere. Instead of walking around the farm today, I'm going to, or the farm, the shop. I'm going to show you the 440 and a few tips on when we get these tractors in that are not running, sort of what we do. Maybe it'll help some of you on when you get buying tractors up front. Some of the steps that we take to try to start them. We bring them in here, but we don't necessarily always just tear them apart first. Sometimes we'd like to get them running, especially if they're not stuck. So let me just tell you a few of the steps that we do to try to get the engine running. The first thing we do is make sure that it's always in neutral, and of course this is a heavy crawler, so it's not going to roll, but you might want to chalk the tracks if you have it in neutral. This one we got the blade up, so we just have changed it to the front. But a lot of people, when they buy tractors, they say they bring them home and they put fresh gas in them, and they start them up and they run when they've been sitting, maybe 3-4 years. Usually when we buy them, if people say they've been sitting a year, they've probably been sitting 5 years. So anyhow, the process that we do is we go through, first of all, we make sure the engine turns over, and you can do that either two ways: by putting the pipe wrench on the crankshaft down at the pulley, or you can start with the starter. What we did on this one is we usually take the starter out first and clean them to make sure they're working, and put a hot battery with usually a jump box just to turn it over. We don't try to start it first, just the starters are usually always stuck. So this particular one, we took the starter out and it was no good, so we took a new starter off the shelf to try it. Once we get that done, we go ahead and we put some oil in the cylinders. We'll spin the motor, get it rotating good, and then the next thing we do before we start it, we'll usually do a compression check on it just to make sure the valves aren't stuck, because if the valves are stuck, of course it's not going to start. So at that point, if we do have some stuck valves, we'll pull the valve cover off. You can usually tap on the valves with a little bit of oil to get them loose if they're just dry stuck. And then once you do that, you'll probably go ahead and I'd put some oil on the valves and get them working really good. Spin the motor several times and just make sure that the valves are opening and closing, because you got to have compression or it's not going to start. The other thing we do is we always go ahead and pull the carburetor off and go ahead and just clean it out. Might as well plan on rebuilding it if it's been sitting. Take it apart, clean it out. This one we got a test tank on it. We didn't try to clean the fuel bowl out and do all that. So if you got a test tank, you might try that. If not, you'll probably wind up having to clean the fuel tank out, put a new strainer in the sediment bowl. So just some of that, and then I would go ahead and put fuel in it and let it run out just to make sure that there's no junk or trash in the fuel before you hook it back up to your clean carburetor. So once we've got the carburetor on, we're making sure all the linkage is working on it. We have our fuel coming to it. The other thing on this one we had is, of course, the throttle was stuck from sitting, so we had to lube it up, get it all lubed, and somebody put a nice throttle handle on it, pair of vice grips. But we actually did get it to work, so you can see it works and turns now. And we got the throttle working, just sort of sticky, but it's working. We didn't put any antifreeze in it until we make sure that it's going to start or we get fire to it. So antifreeze, you can check it and make sure if it does run that you put antifreeze in it and take the water out of it. A lot of people leave the water in it, and the first thing they do in the wintertime, they forget to put antifreeze, and it's going to be froze head, broken block, or both. The other thing we do is we go through, and I usually go ahead and I file or I'll replace the points and condenser. This one we don't even know if the wiring was working, so we usually just leave a hot wire to the battery, to the coil, and you really only need to have the two wires, one to the distributor and one to the hot side of the battery, and that'll put juice. And spin it over again, make sure you got fire to the points. So check your points first, and then you can take the coil wire out, fire, and make sure you're getting coil fire to the coil. And once you got that done, we've got fire, we've got fuel going to the carburetor. It's time to put a hot battery on it and go ahead and fire it up and see what it does. This one, we already got it running, but I'm not going to start it. We already know, but I'm just doing this to give you a few tips on what I would try before we start it. Because a lot of times, if the valves are stuck, you're just beating your head trying to start it. Like I said, you can pull the valve cover off and get them oiled up and get them usually loose. And it tells a lot too, taking off the valve cover. And then also make sure you check your oil, make sure there's no water in the oil, because if it is, you've got other problems. This one had really good oil in it, so that was the other reason we took a chance on getting it started. But anyhow, those are some tips. You don't need to have the voltage regulator, generator, and all that hooked up to do a test on the engine. Basically what you want to do is have the one wire coming off the minus side of the coil going to your distributor, and the positive side of the coil is going to go to the hot on the battery. And you'll want to put a little switch or something on there so you can turn it off and on once it starts. But anyhow, hopefully those tips will help you out on taking one you just got in and you're trying to get it running. Take a little bit of precaution, make sure everything is clear from the fan blade when you're going to start it. But hopefully those few tips will help you out. And Farmer John signing out. We're going to walk over this next crawler. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but I don't want the videos to get too long. So Farmer John signing out.